Welcome to Unlearning Curve, the education and self-mastery segment of the Unlearn the Crap and Level Up podcast. Today, I'm diving into the third part of my archetype series, focusing in on the masculine. In this episode, we'll unpack the hidden patterns and behaviors many of us carry, often without us even realizing it, that can show up as control, emotional distance, or even the need to dominate. But we're not stopping at awareness. I'm also going to explore the empowered side of the masculine energy, revealing how these same instincts can be redirected into protection, authentic leadership, and healthy boundaries. You'll leave with real-life examples, self-reflection prompts, and practical tools to help you shift from survival to strength, no matter where you are on your journey. So let's get started. Welcome back to Unlearn the Crap and Level Up. Your Soul is Calling. I'm your host, Kathy Baldwin. And on today's episode of Unlearning the Curve, we are on part 3 of the Archetype series that I started a couple of weeks ago. This is a 10-part episode. But when I first started this series, I was focusing only on the shadow side, the stuff that keeps us stuck. I believe in the power of self-awareness, being self-aware enough to be able to recognize what is happening, having the knowledge of what is happening so we can now start to begin to make conscious, informed decisions. But what I'm realizing is even in me creating this series, I am still unlearning my own crap because I was not aligning this episode or this series of episodes on what aligns properly with unlearning the crap. Because everything is information. And now what do we do with it? Information on its own without integration is just information that is interesting. But no change, no empowerment happens until we understand how we can use this information and integrate it, align ourselves, and embody the choices that we make. And so from now on, for the rest of this series, I'm going to be going through this series based on the Unlearn the Crap methodology. The methodology that I call Drive Your Destiny, which is the basis of all of my coaching, my books, everything that I do. Because Drive Your Destiny is about 3 parts. The first is understanding the rules of our environment, what we are subject to, and how we can use that knowledge to make informed decisions. But then the second part of driving your destiny is understanding the physicality of turning that knowledge into physical manifestation. By understanding the connection between the energetic, our thoughts, our feelings, the conditioned responses and automatic programming into our physical manifestation results. And then the third part of Drive Your Destiny is your GPS, your navigation, being able to make those conscious choices. So based on that, I am revamping how I'm going to share this archetypal series with you. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the dysfunctional characters in our archetypes, knowing and remembering that we are human beings and we all have all of these. We cannot not have them, but what is different for each and every one of us is how enhanced it is, how in control it is, and whether it is be used as an empowerment choice or a disempowerment choice. I'm going to integrate my use of the universal laws. And two of them mainly that I think are the most empowering universal laws out there, which is the law of polarity and the law of relativity. The law of polarity states that everything must have its opposite. So in this archetype series now, instead of just talking about the one side of the archetype, the disempowerment, I'm going to show the direct opposite. So that if you recognize that one of your masks, one of your archetypes has hijacked you and is now running the show, and you don't want that to be the case, you can use the law of polarity once you recognize it and turn around and do a 180. I will show you the exact 180 so that you can correlate the dysfunctional archetypes with the empowering ones, just like you can correlate hot and cold, night and day, black and white. We have these contrasts, we have these polar opposites as well. But not every archetype is, in fact, a total running of the show, that it is at the 90 or the 180 degree. And so we need to understand that everything has variations and we are on a spectrum or on a scale. And that's where the law of relativity comes into effect, because we can take a look at both sides of the archetypes and see where we are. Maybe we just need to shift our perspective 10 degrees. Maybe we just need to see it from a different vantage point. Maybe we need to pull the beauty out, and maybe we just need to lessen the sharpness of the disempowerment, because that there is an edge, there is a positive to that. Every one of these archetypes have empowering and disempowering, even the negative ones. Because even like the ones we were talking about in the first episode of this, when we were talking about the child or the prostitute, these can still be empowering and disempowering. There is a reward that is attached to all of these. And so we can't label anything right or wrong. What we can do is figure out, are we empowered by what is happening? Is this working for us? Or do we need to alter our course? This is totally about self-awareness for self-empowerment. And so I want you to be really cautious about not labeling or not saying, oh, I know this now, because I know this is actually one of the most dangerous places that we can be. It cuts off the flow of more evolution, more depth, more perspective, more empowerment. And so with that, I will be doing a bonus session on the first two episodes that I did the last 2 weeks. And I encourage you to go and check them out for the bonus session, where I will update and have the rest of this. So what is today's group of archetypal masks that we're looking at? Well, last week we looked at the rejected feminine. It only makes sense to me to look at the rejected masculine, because again, male or female really doesn't matter. We all have masculine and feminine traits. We all have masculine and feminine archetypes within us. And so one of the things that is defined by the masculine is that toughen up, that pull up your bootstraps, that be in control, that don't let them see you cry. Emotions are for the weak. These are some of the things that come out into opposite or into sides of our lives, and it can take us out, or it can be used to sharpen us. So let me get right into it right now. Okay, so we're going to start with the shadow side, the bully. The bully will use intimidation, physical or emotional threats. This is about trying to be safe while controlling other people's behaviors. It shuts down opposing voices and it refuses vulnerability. And the bully archetype is always looking for control. And some of the thoughts that you'll hear when your bully archetype is in control is, I'll get hurt if I surrender control. Or strength means nothing if I show my weakness. And people only respect power, not kindness. The bully will come out usually when we're fearful. And that fear is usually masked by anger and aggression. Go deep when you have these feelings and see, is my bully out trying to protect me, to keep me safe? Am I feeling fearful? And this is one of those learned behaviors that I've learned. The next archetype in the rejected masculine is the tyrant. So what the tyrant will do is they like to micromanage everything and everyone. I had a boss that was totally a self-declared micromanager. And there was no way that him and I could work together because I am an independent. If I had have done this shadow work ahead of time, I could have either made a different choice as to when I chose him as my employer, which would have been the most empowered choice I could have made, or I could have chosen a different way to work and handle with him that still honored who I am. These are part of what can happen when you understand your archetypes and the archetypes around you. Sorry, I didn't mean to digress. Actually, I did. You know I did. The next things that tyrants will do is they criticize or they belittle. They will override other people's decisions because they must be in control. They need to dominate. They need to be the boss. And they have big issues struggling to trust when that tyrant archetype is running the show. So how do you know your tyrant archetype has come out and has been triggered into action? If you ever thought, if I let go, everything will just fall apart, or you must know people where they won't admit this, but you always say, oh, it's my way or the highway is how you like to operate. people can't be trusted to do things the right way. So you must control their behavior. Otherwise, they'll do it wrong because my way is the right way. This is a tough one. This is a tough one to negotiate because of its polarity in being so anchored into the 90 degree. I mean, there's no shades of gray with the tyrant. This is an all or nothing personality. So when you see it within yourself, or if you see it in others, remember whatever we see in others that is triggered in us, making us feel uncomfortable, is information for us. Either it is telling us which way to navigate and where to move, or it's showing us something within ourselves that we need to heal or release. It's all information. The third shadow side of the rejected masculine is the dictator. So the dictator demands obedience and expects to always be right. We have people in our politics around the world who are like this and have created their culture and their society based on this dictatorship. This is, again, a polar 90 degree. There are no shades of gray when you're dealing with a dictator archetype. This person demands full obedience, that they know best and they will not be challenged. Any challenge is seen as a direct threat, a direct attack. And the dictator, they will treat life and relationships in an absolute win or lose. There is no collaboration here. There is no gray areas. There's no community. It is only black and white. Be careful when you are dealing with these personalities. Understand their power and especially where they are in showing up in your world and how much they affect you. See how it's coming out in you, because the dictator cannot tolerate dissent or differences. And you know that the reason that you're here listening to Unlearn the Crap is because we are in a paradigm shift. The dictator is going to cling stronger to their position because the changes that are happening within our world are threatening their very survival belief that this is the only way. So some of the common thoughts that the dictator archetype will have are that others are competitors, not partners. That it is weak, and you do not want to ever be seen as weak if you back down or apologize or even renegotiate, because the dictator sees that control is their safety. I encourage you to grab my cheat sheet from this episode. I'll put the link in the show notes because what I'm going to do is I'll break this down even deeper. I'll give you the behaviors, the thoughts, the feelings, and give you some journal prompts to help you remember. Because in this series, I am doing a separate cheat sheet for each one of these categories. Seeing as I've gone off track again, I might as well let you know, if you want a combined cheat sheet template and a summarization of it, let me know. drop me a note, put it in a comment, whatever it is that will connect with me. You'll definitely get my access to my direct email when you download this cheat sheet. And if enough people are interested in it, I'll put in the time and effort to organize it so that you've got a resource that you can use. Okay, so the fourth one in here that we're going to talk about, because each one of these episodes, we're having 4 different categories. And in this one, it's the shadow father. And the shadow father tends to be emotionally distant or unavailable. They can be critical or dismissive, and they're rarely supportive. They can make you feel like you don't matter. They can withdraw affection as punishment, or they'll use silence as a way to control and manipulate you. We all have seen this archetype showing up in our world. Some of the thoughts that will come that will make you know that your shadow father archetype has been triggered and is now running this scenario is, if I care too much, that'll be one of my weaknesses. My kids and my partners, they need to toughen up, not be coddled, because the world is tough and I got to make them tough. Or if I show emotion, I'm going to lose my authority. Ooh, that one hit hard, didn't it? Okay, so we have the toxic shadow side archetypes that we've just reviewed. On the opposite side, there is the empowered masculine. And so I want to make sure that you see the correlation. Again, this is the 90-degree, 180 turn from the shadow side. So this is the empowered side. When you see the first one popping up, you can turn around and say, in this archetype, I can use this side of it. Because remember, the universal law of polarity, everything has a direct opposite. So when we started with the first one, which was the bully, the direct opposite of the bully is the protector. And this is the payoff that we receive when our bully gets enacted, because somebody is protecting us. And we all crave that feeling that we matter enough to somebody. And so when that archetype is coming out in our own behavior, it's because it's protecting a part of us. It is part of our system that we have created as a defense mechanism. So what does the protector do? Well, it uses strength to create safety, to create a foundation, to create structure. This empowered masculine trait defends the vulnerable and sets healthy boundaries. So if your bully is coming out and it is not giving you the results that you need, you are not being empowered with the bully, turn around and pull in your protector. Know that what you need to do, instead of acting from a place of fear and anger, is to set healthy boundaries. Protect your vulnerability, but don't hide it. Some of the thoughts that will come out for the protector are, I use my power to protect, not control. I use my strength as gentleness and kindness. Do you see how the differences work? And so we talked about the shadow side of the tyrant. Well, what is the empowered side? That empowered masculine is the leader. The leader inspires, it guides, it listens as much, if not more, than it talks. It admits mistakes and takes responsibility. The leader has people wanting to follow rather than feeling afraid and being controlled. Do you see the difference? The leader will loves to bring the best out in others, because a true leader is creating a safety for those around them to be able to be the best of themselves, including for ourselves. If your tyrant is coming out and you feel those feelings, know that you can adjust them to be the leader. So, what are some of the thoughts that a leader will have? Well, I can lead with both courage and humility. And I really love bringing the best out in other people. That is such an empowered, beautiful way of looking at the other side of the tyrant. So, what about the dictator? When we talked about the shadow side of the dictator, what would be the empowered masculine polar opposite? Well, that's the mentor. The behaviors of the mentor is easily, openly sharing wisdom, trying to nurture the growth in other people, encouraging, coaching, and empowering. And that's what this podcast is meant to do and be. That is my purpose here, is I want to share the wisdom. I want to see you step into the greatest version of yourself, become empowered. That is my driving force of this podcast. I believe that when I help others level up, we all level up. And that is one of the thoughts of a mentor. I believe it's a strength to support, and that competition is not collaboration. Competition puts us back into that win-lose situation. That is not a part of the new world that is being grown. That is not a part of the evolution that we are in. That is not a part of what unlearning the crap is all about. So let's look at the last shadow side, which is the shadow father. This is the sad father who hides. I picture him sitting in a chair by himself, smoking a cigar, maybe nursing a drink, not engaged, not activated, not participating, not leading, not mentoring, just hiding in the shadows. And so the empowered version of this masculine trait is the king. The king holds fair and firm boundaries. This is not something that we've always been taught. Boundaries are not something that can exist in the environment that most of us were raised in, which were controlling environments of do as I say, because I said, because I'm your father. If not, I'll give you something to cry about. No, the king teaches each and every one of us how to create empowered, firm boundaries that bring the best out in you. So remember, when you feel that urge to go and hide in the shadows, to not bring your best, the direct opposite of that is that you're being called to create and put in place good, healthy, fair boundaries. The king is that archetype is designed to serve the greater good. It embodies responsibility. It embodies personal autonomy, personal responsibility. And so the king thinks thoughts like, it's my honor to serve and protect my community. The king holds space that protects those around instead of trying to control and manipulate like the shadow masculines do. And the king thinks things like, I balance my power with wisdom and compassion. That doesn't show up in the tyrant or the shadow father. It doesn't show up in the dictator. The king is strength. Imagine building a castle with a wall around and a moat so that all the people within the kingdom are kept healthy and safe and nurtured to thrive and be their most empowered versions. Do you see how we can take the knowledge of something like our archetypes and implement it with the Unlearn the Crap philosophies, my Drive Your Destiny, using universal laws, by thinking things through, by recognizing where we are and not reacting. Reacting is a muscle knee-jerk response. When you immediately react without space between, you are running from your conditioned responses and automatic programming. You are not in control. And you can get that control back by creating space and distance so that you can assess and make conscious decisions on how you choose to respond, not react. That's where your power lies. This is about creating a healing that actually empowers you. Because the truth is, this knowledge without integration, this knowledge without embodiment is just kind of cool. But it's not going to protect you when the storms come. It's not going to make all of things go away. It's not going to remove conflict. It's not going to remove challenges. It's not going to make life all of a sudden rosy and perfect. No. What it's doing is helping you to grow, to be stronger, to become empowered, to not matter what storms are happening because you have a toolbox full of resources. That is exactly what this archetypal series is about, is bringing you to the awareness, giving you some tools, some resources, so that you can take your power back and step into the greatest version of ourselves. Because when we react from the rejected masculine, or we react from the rejected feminine, or the security place, we are giving our power away. And we don't have time to do that anymore. It is time for each and every one of us to step in to the greatest versions of ourselves, because our zone of genius lives on the polar opposite of our challenges and our struggles. So we must always have them. The question is, are they going to take us down and out, or are we going to use it as information? Are we going to use it as part of our GPS, our navigation system, to become really self-aware and self-empowered and self-directed and self-healing? This has been the third of a series of 10 that we are going to be doing on the Monday's Unlearning Curve segments. Remember, I will have a cheat sheet available for every single one of these episodes. Request one, request them all. It doesn't really matter. They're free for you. This is about creating a resource guide for you to add to your toolbox, because that's what the unlearning curve is about, is sharing the resources and tools so that you have the how attached to the why. Don't forget to check the show notes. Don't forget to remember to subscribe, like, comment, share, help build this movement, help create your community, get involved. Your energy, your effort is a step into your empowerment. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Unlearn the Crap and Level Up Your Soul is Calling. My name is Kathy Baldwin. I am your host, and this has been another segment of the Unlearning Curve. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to see you next Monday. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, don't forget to grab your free masculine archetype cheat sheet that can be found at my website, kathybaldwin.me/masculine_archetype. Just head to the link, download your guide, and start putting these insights into action in your own life. If you loved what you heard, please subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and let me know what your biggest takeaway is. Your support helps us reach more people ready to unlearn the crap and level up. Don't forget, there's a separate cheat sheet for every single one of these episodes of the Archetype series. See you next week on the Unlearning Curve, where we handle more